I don't know, whoever's gonna join in. I'm working on a record right now for David Nolf. It's called Feels Like Summer, and in the spirit of summer kind of coming to an end, I thought I'd get on the live here and just show you guys my process and kind of where I'm at with the record, kind of share some things with you about vocals, vocal production, and what I got going on in this session, and just kind of break it down, answer questions for you guys, all that good stuff. And, you know, I'm doing it anyway. I got to work on it. I've been working on it. So I figured, hey, why not go live and share the experience with you guys? Because I kind of like you guys. I mean, most of you. Some of you guys are assholes. All right. So, yeah, here's the session. I'll play you the song. I'm kind of working on this intro part and just been kind of stacking vocals and stuff. There's guitars, synths. It's got kind of like a retro 80s, early 90s vibe to it. It's called Feels Like Summer. David Nolf, and I'm actually featured on this, so I'm going to be on the second verse on this one. So be pretty cool to, I'm pretty excited to drop it, but I'll show it to you guys so you can check it out, and then I'll show you kind of what I'm working on. And I'm just going to kind of work live here. If you guys got questions along the way, then feel free to pop them in the chat. What's up, Arlie? How you been, man? It's good to see you, bro. All right, we got Arlie in the house. All right, so I'm going to play this for you guys. First time I've ever played it publicly, so bear with me here, and hope you enjoy it. If you don't, then, you know, just go fuck yourself. Just kidding. Love you guys. All right, so I'm going to mute my mic and play this for you. That's about as much as I'm going to show you, because the writing, we're still finishing it off and everything. But I feel like this is at a good point to kind of break it down a little bit for you guys and give you a little bit of my process along the way, and just go live with you guys and kind of show you how I work on records. So this is kind of a blend of, you know, recorded stuff and elements like acoustic guitars and electric guitars and vocals and stacks and, you know, little plucks and all sorts of stuff. And then synths as well, right? Like you have synthesized drums and sampled drums, stuff out of our LA Nights kit. I actually use these drums on here. You guys have those kits if you picked up any of our production packs. Like, they're actually included in the packs, and they're incredible. So highly recommend you get them if you haven't. And then there's some, piano, sampler, basic instruments that really need to be sort of dialed in. This is stuff that David had in the original demo. And I'll probably end up, just kind of crafting these sounds a little bit more and finding stuff that fits my vibe and my taste a little bit more. Like this massive synth. And then this is something I put in here, the Wave Station 80s lead. Which I love the Wave Station. It's from Korg, and this is just like a bell thing. It's like super rompler, like 80s rompler bell CS80 kind of shit, and then let's see here. And then we got the live bass. So actually flew the bass in from a player in Brazil. That's really dope. Really love him. He played on my single Stolen Love as well. So he's just got such a cool tone and such a cool pocket. And then this was the original bass that we had in here, which was like the sampled MIDI bass. And this is the process. Like for me, it's kind of sloppy. Like if you looked at this, you'd be like, oh, this is sloppy, right? Like shit, you haven't cleaned this up at all. But it's all about vibes for me when I'm producing. And then I'll go in and I'll clean everything up. Like it's a whole process to clean up and edit vocals and all that. And actually that's what I was working on today, is start to pocket things, start to make things a little bit more interesting and pocket vocals. And I'll show you how I do that basically. So what I do here, I have like this intro and then the vocals come in right here. And David cut me like a pretty rough vocal take, but I thought it was like really clean, like the way he recorded it from his house. So I was like, oh, this'll do. You know what I mean? So this was the vocal take, and I'll just play this for you. This is the first verse, and then we'll start to pocket these vocals a little bit more, just timing wise.
We'll be outside in a rip beside a sunrise. Won't sleep so we're not alone. Run away cause we can't go home. Driving down the coastline, staring at your best side. Cause we are just kids in love.
So like there's certain parts here where it's pushing and it's pulling and it kind of just doesn't sound right to me, right? Like it's not in the pocket. And the first thing I always do with every vocal take is make sure, first of all, that everything is in time, right? So on this take, like I would usually do this in Pro Tools just because audio editing in Pro Tools isn't as clunky as Logic. And you can see like the waveform view in Logic is just really kind of bad. It's just kind of terrible. It looks gross and it's just not like sample accurate, like even when you zoom in and stuff. But the first thing I do usually is I come in here and I just chop around like the parts that are going to be a little bit more, a little bit louder. Like you see this peaking out. I see this peaking out, go in here and just chop all this out. And I do this all usually by hand. And then I'll just kind of gain these down, right? So that they're not hitting the compressor really hard and changing the tonality of the vocal, which is something I absolutely cannot stand, when a compressor is getting hit really hard with like either a transient, like this kind of vibe, or something it doesn't really need to be hit so hard with, and you can literally just automate it down. And then anytime you change gain on a section, I usually will crossfade on that section just because I like to get the edits really tight. But this is something I do for every single session I ever work on, and it's tedious and it takes a lot of time, and it's why I charge money to produce or mix or master records for people, because it really is like a process. But if you go in here and you do it, it's so satisfying, and it's like the end result just ends up being so much better. So I go through it. I literally like go through and make sure that everything is, leveled out. And most vocalists just don't have that kind of control unless they're really, really great recording artists. And I'm not saying David's not. David's very talented. He's a very talented singer, but he's more of a live performer. So I've been working with him on his last 2-3 records, and this will be like the 4th one I'm working on with him. So I just want to make sure that everything's really great and that he's expanding as an artist. Like that's my main goal as a producer, audio engineer. Anything I work on, I want to like make sure that someone goes to the next level. of where they're at. Because it's hard to reach those levels, man. Like those levels, they may look like they're right there in front of you, right? Like, oh, I can get there. But they're like getting from like good to great is literally like from here to Mars. It's such a long stretch of, 5, 10, 15 years of just really constantly doing this stuff. So it's easy to get faked out. Like, oh, well, I got Melodyne too. It's like most people don't even use Melodyne correctly. So I'm just going to go in here and I basically just like even out all this stuff so it's not going to hit the compressor hard, and put a fade anywhere I need it. I can usually do this just by eye. I don't need to like really hear it yet. And then waveform view. For some reason my this is like clipped out. You could see that. But yeah, it's totally clipped. So these are like things I'll take note of, Like I'll like come in here and chop this and then see what it looks like when I gain it down. And you can see it's just clipped right off the top. And that could be a clip of the capsule, but this one is for sure a clip, like digital clip. So that's something like I'll want to recut with him, like these parts, right? Because they're just not going to sound super great when we start to, put everything else together. Like once I start compressing and processing, this is going to start to distort or sound weird compared to the other stuff. So in the notepads in Logic, I typically put these kind of notes in here, like, distorted or clipped vocals at bar 31. And I always put bar numbers because bar numbers is what I know as a composer, just working in film and TV and records. Like, always think bar beat, So I go like, vocal clips starting at bar 31. And I'll just put these notes here like as I work because I don't want to forget something. And if I open up the project, like I'm usually working on a project like every day, like for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours, as much time as I got for that day. Yeah, sometimes stuff is really good, but it's very rare that in a pop record, like I get what you're saying here, Ruben, and I agree for the most part, but you have to get like the top players and the top artists in the world to really find something that's not going to be, need a bunch of cleanup. But that's really, really rare. Like, honestly, I've worked with a handful of artists like that. And one of them was a Motown artist, and she was incredible. And she could take, 5 vocal takes, and they'd all sound amazing, and they were on time, and they just had vibe to them. I didn't need to go retime anything, but that was Thelma Louise, And if you don't know who Thelma Louise is, like, you should look her up. Or Thelma Houston, I'm sorry. It's Thelma Louise. Thelma Houston, I worked with her on a few projects, and she's just an incredible vocalist. Like, she could do this and just, she had dynamics in her voice and all that stuff where she could control everything. But, that's very, very rare that you're going to run into an artist like that, especially nowadays when people are mainly relying on the technology. So I'm not going to do the whole vocal with you guys live just because, that's boring as hell. Yeah, man, we're going to go through this vocal and I'm going to retime it on live. It's going to be so fun, man. I'm just going to kind of show you the steps that I take, and you guys just can ask questions along the way if you have any. Just pop them in the comments. But from here, what I'll do is I'll time out the vocal, right? So on here, I really want to pocket it. And with Logic, it's pretty easy. You just kind of can read the grid, And you can see like this is kind of like coming a little fast. So I'll just kind of retime stuff and do editing and just make sure the vocal's really, really tight and pocketed. Because this isn't jazz, This isn't funk. Like, this is pop music. And pop music needs tight timing. For sure. Yeah, -18 LUFs at every word. That's interesting. It's a random approach there, but I'm sure you learned it from someone, Manish. But yeah, I just use my ear, man. And honestly, like, most of the time you can see it in the waveform, like where it's at. This isn't rocket science. But yeah, this is more about feel, I think, with the whole like leveling out stuff. You can do this another way too. You can come in here and volume automate, I just don't like volume automation because I feel like if you could just clip gain stuff, it just feels more real to me. rather than like something turning up and down. Like I hate that. And that's why I don't want these compressors to work really hard. I really have these compressors on here for vibe. And I love the CLA 3A or any LA 3A on a vocal because it's really smooth. It's like a CL 1B, like a tube tech. So it's very like smooth and you don't hear the compression as much. So at this point, I will listen to this phrase and this part and I'll retime everything that needs to be retimed.
We'll be outside in a reposado sunrise. We'll be outside in a reposado sunrise. We'll be outside in a reposado.
So just certain stuff needs to be tucked, you know. So like outside, that needs to land like pretty. I wouldn't put things ahead of the beat. Like I typically wouldn't want that, you know. And you can see like here, this is kind of landing ahead as well. And I just don't like that. Like I want to like kind of tuck it back. And then in Logic, you have this little guy. This is like your best friend, right? You can find like a good edit point here. And then you can just fade it. And then here, I'm going to tuck this back as well. Like, we'll be outside in a reposado sunrise. Like we want to make sure that this is like really bouncing and tucked. So there you go. Fade that. Fade that.
We'll be outside in a reposado sunrise.
And then I feel like the next part, like the reposado sunrise, like I feel like that really needs to be tight and pocketed as well, because it's such an interesting phrase. And a lot of the times, like the way I think about it, as I think, I'm a drummer, you know, so it's easy for me. But if you need like a tip, the way that I would think about it is like if you're counting, you know, you're going 1, 2, 3, 4. Instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, you know what I mean? Like do eighth note counts or do 16th counts, you know? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, you have to think about what he's trying to hit here. Is he trying to do a triplet thing? Is he doing a 16th note? Is he doing an eighth note, etc.? And then you want to read the grid. You want to really like pay attention to what the grid's doing. So that's like what pocketing is all about. It's all about like figuring out what's going on here. Like, for example, like when I see the transient is kind of behind here and it was kind of ahead before here, like I want to make sure that these phrases and these transients are landing like pretty solid on that grid. It doesn't need to be perfect, right? But it has to have a feel, like it has to be right for pop music. So like this is probably more appropriate for this. So it doesn't feel like it's rushing and then it's falling behind, etc. So here I got this like this vibe here. And I just got to find a good cross point. Like I don't want to go in the middle of a phrase or anything like that. So I'll just try to find something like around here and I'll fade it. And if you can hear it, that's bad. You know, use your ear, basically.
We'll be outside in a reposado sunrise.
I mean, it's already pocketed way better just on that beginning phrase, just by moving around things just very simply.
We'll be outside in a reposado sunrise.
And then reposado sounds like a little bit jumbled to me. Like it sounds like a little rushed. So I'm going to move this guy back here, right? Like I'm going to take this guy here and just move him like here. And I think this will kind of help it pocket a little bit better, right? And then we'll take these guys and we'll figure out where this phrase is at. Reposado, reposado. It's like 16th note, you know? Reposado sunrise. It might be because it's 168. It's actually like an eighth note, you know? Reposado sunrise. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Like it's just an eighth note kind of vibe.
Reposado sunrise. Reposado sunrise.
So you see how like just moving that first R over just helps pocket it better? Reposado sunrise, reposado sunrise. So this is the P right here, right? So when you think in eighth notes, you got to look at the grid in eighth notes. That's basically the best way I can explain that. So you have like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and like that's just how I count it. So you can zoom out and you can see like this is, you know, eighth notes. So if I look at this is kind of like needs to come ahead, I think. Like this needs to come up here, right? I'll just kind of pocket this a little bit better. Reposado sunrise, reposado sun.
In a reposado sunrise. reposado sunrise. Then a reposado sunrise. Then a we'll be outside in a reposado sunrise.
Okay, so that feels rushed to me. So I'm like off where he's trying to hit. So he's probably trying to hit in between the beat here, right? So I'm just gonna move this back. Just bam. And then let's listen to this.
We'll be outside in a reposado sunrise.
So that's much tighter. And then what you want to look at usually with this stuff is you want to look at the actual transients. If you guys have any questions, just drop them in here. I was going to check out your course, but you don't accept PayPal. Yeah, we don't accept PayPal on our pages just because it won't allow us to integrate PayPal and Stripe. So if you want to use PayPal, man, just shoot me an email. I'm happy to take PayPal and just do it, set it up manually for you. You could send it to info@radium-media.com. Hit me up, C-Ray Beats. What's up, man? Yeah, you know, vocal editing is like, I can't even tell you how important it is, you guys. It's probably the most important part of audio, of like making a great record, is just pocket your vocals, tune your vocals, make sure your vocals and your audio sounds fucking good, man. Like don't skip steps. So here I can see like this is like getting rushed, right? So I just come in here and I just chop this and move it back a little bit. And you can always see the sibilants, you can always see the breaths, you can always see the P's. This is like reading waveforms 101. Hopefully this is like useful for anybody that's out there that's like, I don't really get what he's doing. So this is like a P or a T, right? That's what that looks like. When you see like a pasado, this is what an S looks like. Okay. If you're just if you're reading waveforms, S's are usually really like, because an S is such a small, high pitch frequency, it's going to read as like zzz, really fast, right? Because it's sampling the S at a fast, like it's getting it, it's capturing the S, and the S draws the lines like really fast because it's such a fast frequency, right? So, I mean, like it's a short waveform. So the higher the frequency, the shorter the waveform, right? The lower the frequency, the longer the waveform. And hopefully that right there is like, boom, it explodes things for you and helps you edit and mix and master and all that stuff better. Because when you see this, you should know that that's an S. Like you'll know right away. When you capture it in Melodyne, you're going to know it's an S because Melodyne will tell you, right? But that's what an S looks like. That's what a P or a T looks like. Usually a P is going to look like that because like P, you know, it's a little bit lower. So you can see it's like lower waveform, and then it gets into this higher waveform where it goes, kss, right? Really high frequencies look like that. Lower frequencies look longer, right? So you can see the longer frequencies when he's holding a vowel, you know, repasa, this is the ah, right? So you just have to be able to read waveforms. It's really, really important to everything, to your production ability. And anyone that like joined this live stream that's like, yo, I thought you were going to be producing live. This right here is more production than someone sitting on fucking YouTube live or whatever and making a beat. Like anybody can make a beat, right? But not a lot of people can produce records because it takes this kind of tedium. Is tedium a word? Is that an actual word? All right, so let me just kind of back this up because I want this to hang back a little bit. And then let's find a good cross point, right? Like this is what you do. You want to find like a good spot where you can crossfade. And I'll just find like the spot where, you know, this is connecting the same. There you go. Now let's listen to this phrase and just see how much better it's pocketed.
We'll be outside in a reposado sunrise.
I mean, it just bounces way better already to my ear. The reposado sunrise. So here we really want to get these anything that you see that's going to be like a definitive transient, you want to like lock it on the grid, or you want to like hang it back on the grid. Typically don't want to be going forward ahead of the beat. That's going to just sound stupid usually.
Reposado sunrise. Reposado sunrise.
All right, now remembering what S's look like, that's basically an S right there, right? So we have to make sure that that S is hitting on the grid right. Like, so it's reposado sunrise, Reposado sunrise. A lot of S's there, which kind of is messy, right? But here we can see that he's kind of getting behind the beat a little bit. Or maybe no, he's a little ahead of the beat still, right? So we want to tuck this back as well. So I'm just going to go chop this, and we're just going to move this back just a little bit. I'm going to see what that sounds like.
Sunrise. We'll be outside in a reposado sunrise.
And now you can see that rise as well as landing really nicely, like right behind the beat there. And that's going to be just really nice. And then also like the release of the note as well, like rise. Like where's this S hitting? See the S? See how it's behind? So we want that S to land right there. So I'm going to just chop it and I'm going to move it, right? So that's all I'm doing. I'm just pocketing everything. And the pocketing is going to make it sound not only like he just nailed his take, but it's going to make things sound more musical. It's going to make things sound more pop and more, you know, radio friendly and like sell more records. Just kidding. I don't know what it'll do, but it just sounds better to my ear.
We'll be outside in a reposado sunrise. Won't sleep so we're not alone. Run away cause we can't go home.
Okay, so the next process that I take, because like I said, I'm not going to retime all these vocals right here on live for you guys. I'm just kind of getting these ideas across for you so you can like learn from them. But yeah. Hey, what's up, Chris? How you doing, man? So next thing I do here is I actually will start to melodyne. So let's say I just went through and I retimed all the vocals for the lead vocal and it was like, yo, that's locked in. That's perfect, which I still don't think this phrase is perfect. And we're going to re-record this anyway, but I wanted to go live to like show you guys this stuff just to, you know, give you some game. You know, whether you want it or not, you're getting game. All right. This is another thing about like any breaths or anything. See how like this like breath is like kind of hanging out in a weird spot? Check this out.
We'll be outside.
Okay, so that's the will. We'll be outside. So we got to understand like where that's trying to hit.
We'll be outside in a reposado.
Sounds good to me. That actually like by ear, I would actually pull that ahead a little bit more. Like I'd go like here and then I would fade that. Pull this guy back. Yep. So we should be good there.
We'll be outside in a reposado sunrise. Oh.
So that S, like a lot of the times what I do is I'll come in here and I'll literally just turn the S down because it's just like too much, right? So just bringing that S down.
We'll be outside in a reposado sunrise. Won't sleep so we're not alone. We'll be out so we can't go home. Driving on the coastline, staring at your best side.
And you could hear like this whole phrase right here is like ahead of the beat, which, you know, kind of makes it sound like like it's trying too hard. We don't want to try too hard. This is a cool track. It's a vibe, you know? So next step, right? Because I promised you I was going to do the next step here. All right, so the next step would be that I turn on Melodyne here, and I'm just going to focus on this phrase right here, right? I'm not focusing on anything else. Let's say this was all timed and it's all good, and I got all my fades in here and everything's chill. Like, for example, there's no fade here, so I got to put that fade in there. Find a good fade point. There you go. And let's remove this fade. I'm just going to say remove crossfade. And let's redo that. Just make it cleaner. All right, so let's say we have all this stuff edited. We went through the whole lead vocal. Next thing I would do is I would flatten and merge all this stuff, which is basically just consolidate the tracks. So it's like, looks like that, right? Now look, I've already done the volume riding and all that stuff. So it's like pretty solid. You can see this guy's kind of poking out. That's okay. Compressor will catch that nicely. And then I'm going to go in here and with the ARA, I don't know if you guys know what ARA is, but it's basically like a new technology that they use in Logic Pro, and it's not super new, but it basically is like offline processing and capturing for like Melodyne or vocal line or anything else like that. So it's kind of like Audio Suite in Pro Tools if you're used to Pro Tools. So we're going to go to Melodyne and we're going to turn on Melodyne ARA. And what this does is basically all you have to do is hit play, and you don't have to even listen to the whole phrase. It'll just capture it. Right? Like I just hit the space bar. Now it's got the whole thing, right? And it might capture the whole vocal phrase. Let's see. Yeah, it did. All right, so it'll just capture the whole track, basically. So I'm not going to worry about that. I'm only going to worry about this area right here. And this is where we're going to get into some audio tuning and some stuff that if you're not doing this step or your engineer's not doing this step, hire me, right? Hire somebody that knows what the fuck they're doing. Stop trying to do this stuff on your own, because this literally just to master Melodyne could take you 5 years. Easy. No problem. What's up, C-Ray? Okay, so make my income from Frito-Lay, but I've been making music for 13 years now, and I still like to learn from the pros. That's what's up. I like that, man. You know, I'll be honest with you, the best investment you can make when you're starting out, even in your first 5-10 years of music, is investing in yourself and your knowledge. Straight up. I don't know why more people don't do it. It's stupid that they don't. So now we have this vocal. What I like to do, first of all, is I like to turn off a lot of the processing, like reverb, right? And that's about it, really. Maybe this RC20 because it's going to give some color. Compression's fine. It doesn't matter there. And now I just have Melodyne on, and I'm just looking at the notes. This is not going to be a like a live masterclass on Melodyning, guys, but I'm going to show you some tools and some tricks that I use, okay? And these are pretty well known by anybody that uses Melodyne. So I have like the $500-$600 version of Melodyne. So I don't expect you to go run out and like go buy this if you don't have it already. But it's a tool that I use on every single record. And you could even use Auto-Tune. Auto-Tune Pro works kind of the same way. It sounds a little different though. It's not as transparent. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the note separation. Well, let's do this. Before I do that, you could see it captured it in D minor, which I do believe is correct. If you need to find the key, you know, I go to like the MIDI or whatever and find the chords and just look at the scale. Like it's super simple. Like this actually might be in C major, you know what I mean? For all I know. So double click that, which D minor is so close to C major that I could see why Melodyne would pick that. Grab all the notes, and you could just see right away that you're not hitting anything sharp or flat. So it's more likely than not that this is actually C major, not D minor, right? Like I'll just put it in C major, but it doesn't matter because D minor is basically C major, right? But I'm going to put it in C major because I know that this is more likely C major. All right. And so I go in here and I'm going to pick the key first. Okay. Or A minor. There you go. But it doesn't sound minor to me. I guess it does. It sounds kind of moody, just a little bit. So let's say we kept it in D minor, right? And let's say Melodyne's smart enough to understand it. Let's grab all these notes. And the first thing you can do is just to get an idea of where things are at. You could just go 100% on the pitch center and snap it to the chord scale, which you could see what it did there. Like it boop, beep, right? And then you can just listen to it and just see what it does.
We'll be outside in a reposado sunrise.
And you can hear like that scooped note, that like the reposado sun, like it did some weird shit there with this, right? Because it's going reposado sun. Like it's just weird. So this is where I just start to listen and use my ear at first.
We'll be outside in a reposado sun. We'll be outside in a reposado sunrise.
So just see how that's like just a little more musical, swooping down, because then it falls down to this. Right? So this is weird too. Like it's like kind of in between. I don't even know if this is a note or not. Right? So let's click on that. That's just basically Melodyne fucking up. It's like it's going way down. So it's actually not treating that as like a low D minor. It's not actually jumping like that. It's just the way that it's reading it. So don't worry about that. Just keep it there. It's fine. But make sure it's in scale. So I just put it on that D minor instead of having it hang like in between there. Right? So let's check this out.
We'll be outside in a reposado sunrise. We'll be outside.
Okay, cool. Now there's the next tool I'm going to use is going to be the note separation, all right? And what I'm trying to do here is I'm looking at any like real big inflections, and I just want to chop that node. I think they're called like nodules or something. I don't know, but I don't really care. Like globules. So now I got my note separation. Basically come in here and then just like click, double click to cut these, right? And you can see like that's going to do that. And that's because it's taking the vibrato into account. And then I just want to like basically, this is weird. It's like doing some weird flaky shit on me. But you can see how that like runs up. And I'm just going through and I'm just going to like click on everything. And I'm just going to separate where it's dropping basically. So if there's like huge inflections, so this is your actual pitch. The line is, the glob is like your overall kind of like idea highlighted basically. So I'm going to go through here and I'm just going to chop all these moments where the vibrato is just a little too crazy and the notes are kind of like dipping like wildly out of place, right? Like there, I could probably clip that, you know, and then come in here and you could see this is like kind of pitch drifting up, right? So I don't really want that. I want it to end with Reposado sunrise. Like I want that to be steady. Like I don't want it to go rise, you know? So I'm just going to chop that. And once I'm done chopping all my notes and getting those modules or whatever they're called, I don't really know what they're called, to be honest. I don't really care. But once I do that, I grab my pitch tool again. You can grab all these and you can double click them, and then they're all going to lock back in. Now let's listen to this.
We'll be outside in a reposado sunrise. We'll be outside.
I mean, just already just like much better, right? Nothing's flat, nothing's sharp. And it still feels like completely human. It doesn't feel like you tuned it. It doesn't feel like it's not doing anything crazy. There's nothing that's jumping out to me about this phrase, which sucks because it's not really something that's going to help with the teaching here. But, you know, there you go. And then what we can do here, after you're done with that, let's say we were just pitching this part. What you have to do, because this is ARA, it's basically tied in. So if I play it right now, it's playing through Melodyne.
We'll be outside in a reposado sunrise. We'll be
right, locked in. So now what I can do is I can go bounce in place, and this is going to bounce through all of this stuff. So for example, if you wanted to just bounce through the Melodyne, what I would recommend you do is duplicate the track, right? Now you have a track where you can take the Melodyne off because you don't want the Melodyne. You can go back to the original track. You can bypass all the plugins here, right? Besides Melodyne, besides the tuning, you can bounce in place. This is going to bounce this and just say like David lead, you know, David lead Vox. And then I usually put mellowed. That's how I know. And then this is going to ask you, you want a new track, you want to select a track, blah, 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 leave, mute, etc. So this is going to say mute or leave. I'm just going to leave it because I'm just doing phrase by phrase, right? But if I was doing the whole pass, then I'd probably mute it. And then you don't want to have bypass effects plugin on because you want to go through the Melodyne. And then include audio tell, yes. Yes, include pan automation, all that good stuff. You're all good. Now you can say, okay, now it's going to bounce it through Melodyne. And then you're going to take this guy and drag it down to the track that has all the plugins on it, right? And you can turn on your retro color again, your reverb again. And now you have your Melodyne track. And then I'll show you the next step that I do when I'm actually working on a record, okay? So this is what it sounds like now.
We'll be outside in a reposado sunrise. Won't sleep, so we're not alone.
And that's pretty solid. I mean, you know, he did a good take. He spent the time like really doing what he needed to do, right? Like I feel like he did a good job with this, and I was happy with the takes he gave me. Like he really really dialed them in. So I usually go in and just do like the little, clean up, make sure there's no headphone bleed, other stuff in there. And then a lot of the times, let's say I'm working on like a rap record, like a trap record, R&B, modern kind of pop, etc. I will go in and then also I'll throw some auto-tune on there, right? After I melodyne. Because auto-tune I use sometimes, I'll show you. This is how I use it. I'll use auto-tune, probably EFX. So I use like EFX or Pro, either one of these, right? And let's say I click on this and I open up auto-tune. And then what I can do here is I'll set it on the same thing. I'll go alto, right? I'm going to go D minor because it seems like that's fine. That works great. I think that A sharp probably is never hit in the song, but if it is, we'll pay attention to that. We're all good. All the white keys are highlighted. And then what I do here is I don't go for a T-Pain effect. I don't go for any sort of like effect there. What I do is I keep it like pretty loose. Like I'll go anywhere from 15 to about 30, right? In this zone is perfect for singers like this, where it's like pop. But the thing that EFX does is it adds this right here, this auto effects and EFX vibe, which is like, it just sounds more pop. It sounds polishy. It sounds a little bit digital, which kind of sucks. But because I'm already going through all this other stuff that's making it sound more analog, I think it's like going to be a cool thing. Another thing, if you haven't like melodyned to death and you want to keep like your vibratos, right? Because you melodyne and you want to keep all the vibratos, like yeah, like the vibrato, the pitch inflections, the human stuff, then just blend in a little bit of the humanization. And I find that this works just perfect for me. I keep the 4-man on and that's it. Like that's basically how I'd set up my auto-tune to start with. And let's just hear it.
We'll be outside in a reposado sunrise.
Sounds great, right? And then if you can really hear it if you like do this kind of stuff, right? But what this will actually do is it'll make it sound more like a robot, and it'll make it sound more like a synthesized voice rather than a natural like feeling in the voice, right? And we want feeling in the voice, believe me. Like if you guys are like even into trap music and stuff, you have to understand the times. Modern vibes are like DaBaby. DaBaby is the top of the shit right now, like with hip hop and trap. And if you listen to what he's got, his vocals are not auto-tuned. Like if they are, they're like very, very lightly auto-tuned, and they want to capture the baby's like voice. He has a cool voice. He has character in his voice. And if you auto-tune the shit out of DaBaby, it just wouldn't be DaBaby, and it wouldn't be cool. Like it wouldn't be modern. It would be like 2007 again, and we'd be doing, lick me like a lollipop, lick me like a lollipop. It's not that. That's a dated sound now. So just a little heads up for all you guys overdoing the auto-tune. It's not cool. I'll be real with you. I work with trap artists and trap writers and R&B artists and R&B writers all the time that are massive in the game. And they're not like, crank the auto-tune, bro.
We'll be outside in a reposado sunrise.
Like that is 100% not the vibe of this track. You know what I mean? Like I literally probably be at 25 and I'd humanize probably like around 15 or so, right? This is my vibe right here.
We'll be outside in a reposado sunrise.
And you could just hear that little bit of the auto-tune vibe that it's like like it's just kind of adding those little whip, which makes it kind of more modern and makes it kind of a vibe. So I'm just going to bypass in and out the auto-tune just to show you the differences. And for me personally, I don't think I'd use auto-tune on this vocal at all. I would just melodyne it and I'd call it a day and I'd mix it.
We'll be outside in a reposado sunrise. We'll be outside in a reposado sunrise. We'll be outside in a reposado sunrise.
So where you hear it and where it kind of makes it kind of cool and a little bit more modern is on the reposado part, where it goes reposado sunrise. Like really pay attention to that part and how it feels, because it's more about feeling more than anything. But the way that it feels with the autotune, kind of more modern, kind of more 2021 to me, you know, like in a rape beside a sunrise, like it jumps up, like, and it's kind of cool.
We'll be outside in a rip beside a sunrise. We'll be
right. And so that right there, the combination of Melodyne and autotune that's how you get the pro vocals, right? You have to, first of all, record your vocals well with a good microphone, get the great performance, do the timing edits, do all the adjustments, clean up all the bullshit, right? Get rid of anything that's a problem. And then you want a Melodyne, and then you want to autotune. That's just, I mean, it's the way most people do it. And if you want to do like, oh, I do want the autotune effects and stuff, then think about this. Like in Melodyne, you can like keep the funkiness on some of the notes, and you can kind of like switch the melody so that the autotune is grabbing a note a little bit differently. So that's something that I really like to do. But yeah, it sounds much more unnatural, as Manish says. I think that that's true, but that's kind of the vibe of like what modern music is, you know? It's a little bit unnatural. Like, we live in a world with technology. We have to like embrace it a little bit. So there is my process, and I'm going to get off live. I appreciate you guys. If you like this and you got something out of it, you know, throw me a buck or two. You guys can donate right here. Throw a little $5 at me, buck at me, 50 cents at me. I don't care. You don't really have to pay me anything. I'm giving this away for free, but you know, I'll try to do more lives like this where I just kind of break down the process. I think it'd be really boring for me to just like be working and you guys watch it. But if you want me to do that kind of stuff as well, I can do that. And there's new content coming out, right? So I'm going to be dropping a mix series, which is going to be really good on vocal stacking, harmonies, doubling, all that stuff for vocal production. And that's going to come out, I think, on either tomorrow or Sunday. Probably drop it on Sunday, just because more people are like kind of paying attention to the internet on Sundays. And then I got a podcast coming out as well that's going to come out on Monday. So you guys stay tuned, stay tapped in. If you like this kind of stuff, like the video, you know, comment on the video, help us get the word out there, help us, you know, help more people make better records. And last thing I'm going to mention to you guys is that we have the Radium Academy, and I really, really, really think that everybody can benefit from this, okay? And the reason being is because this academy, I've put together master classes over the last 5 years, you know, like I just dropped this one, mixing vocals to a beat. Like so many people are doing this right now. Like you only have the stereo file and you don't have the beat stems, right? So I go through like an actual client process of like mixing vocals to just a stereo beat, mixing and mastering. Like I master it. I send it to the client. The song is out. You know what I mean? So this right here is amazing, highly valuable. This is another one where I break down the mix for an artist named Seed Squatch. He's kind of like folk rock kind of vibe. Go through the whole process, right? Beat mixing masterclass is incredible. Teaches you everything about mixing your beats, making your shit hit, what EQs, compressors, all that stuff we use. Mixing on a budget is all about Waves Gold bundle plugins. And I actually have sessions in this masterclass with Tyga. And I'm like doing stuff and showing you guys effects and things and chains. And it also comes with a bunch of chains as well with Waves. Mastering masterclass, incredible. Show you the whole mastering process in Logic Pro. I mean, all this stuff is really good. I think, you know, we're going to be adding new masterclasses every week to this thing. So sign up for this. Like it's a no-brainer to me. I can't believe more people haven't signed up. You get 7 days free. It's $17 a month, you guys. Like I'm trying to give you this shit. I'm not trying to make a bunch of money off of it. I want more people to be connected with what I'm doing and show you guys what I've learned in so much time doing music, you know? Like it's been like 23 years, no joke. So there's a link to that. You guys can grab 7 days free. And that goes through like if you really want to nerd out on shit, like you want to really get your vocals better, go through the vocal mixing masterclass, go through the advanced vocal mixing masterclass. And then, yeah, we're dropping new ones every week. There's even a Facebook and Instagram ads course there. And I'm sure a lot of you guys connected with us through how we run ads. So why not learn it from the people that are actually like getting results, you know? But you guys, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. And have a great night. Peace out. Happy Friday.